Hello and welcome back to Power Wash. On today's video, we're going to be doing Chatter. Hopefully this time my audio records. Kind of funny
The
having to
gnome says
know.
hello. The gnome would like to say hello.
Oh, but where'd it go? Oh, I went to put it down, it just seemed to teleport. Oh, time to continue. Let's Something that I find funny about a golf cart is it technically qualifies as a car.
I I never understood golf carts. I
Yeah,
just know that I've been on one and I was very
yeah,
confused.
yeah. Like,
It
they're
wasn't always
actually
like a
technically not
5-year-old.
that bad as a vehicle. It's not
I've only ever
perfect.
been on one when I was I've only ever been on one when I
Uh,
was like 5. I think I was 5. I was a kid. That's all I know. The most I liked about it was that it was small. I don't know
yeah,
why. I just was
yeah.
fascinated by the fact that it was super small. I love how you can tell we have very different cleaning styles.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to do the correct method where you just have the arm move independently of you, and sometimes it's not so good. It's good to have both, at least. Let's I still have to admit, I find it kind of ridiculous that we spent almost 3 hours talking, but then none of the audio recorded. Like, that just still boggles my mind that happened, and I didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
And what didn't get
Oh,
clean? Oh,
there we go.
huh.
When in doubt, always check the bottom part.
Yeah. Uh, yeah.
I still find it so funny. This game has lore.
Yeah. Oh, time to go into the next mission. Oh, yeah.
Oh, this one.
Yeah. You know that some of these, they do have Easter eggs to indicate that there's, like, animals nearby?
Oh yeah, the cat. That's the biggest Easter
Yeah.
egg.
Yeah. The
Technically,
cat.
the cat is part of the lore,
Yeah.
which is funny.
Yeah. I do know there is one map. I do not remember if it's a DLC map or not. I do know there is one map that does have a joke about Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, that is a career map.
Yeah.
It is a career map.
Yeah.
It's the treehouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of these maps are the reference they're gonna have is the cat because that's the
Yeah.
mayor's cat. I don't know if that's really a spoiler this late in the game.
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure if it would be a spoiler, if it's just common knowledge at this point.
I mean, there are cat paws in this pathway. I don't think it's a spoiler.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the cat, essentially the mayor's cat who ran away and
It's just doing whatever.
living its best life because honestly, the mayor's kind of a jerk. Sunset Festival. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've seen some of the messages, but yeah, the mayor's he's kind of a jerk. Doesn't really give a crap about the town or anything.
Yeah. One of the sad things is in real life, that's an accurate description of so many mayors. Because sadly, one of the few benefits that comes with becoming a mayor is you do tend to get paid more than any other position for a town. But then again, there's a lot of people that quickly abuse that and find ways to make more money than they should as a mayor.
Like they say, power corrupts people.
Yeah. And mayors are also very easy to bribe as well, considering the number of mayors that have been caught accepting bribes over the years.
Mm.
It's like it doesn't even matter what country. It's like all it takes is one mayor getting caught, and it's like people don't really care at this point because it just happens so often. Do you remember one of the things we talked about, which was the sound that the T-Rex makes? Like what it most likely made in real
The
life?
yeah, the actual song.
Mm.
Right.
Like,
Which I
there's no
remember
way you can hear that and not think that something really bad is about to happen.
I would hear it in person and I would
Mm,
just tap out. I would be like, yeah, it found me because what I believe
mm,
scientists also found is if it makes that noise, it found you. Like it means
mm,
it found you. And it's like, oh,
mm,
so I'm dead. That's what you're telling me.
yeah. I also find it odd the idea of knowing that there's a chance it could purr or make a sound similar to purring if you're near it.
Yeah, it's always like a clicking sound, which is
Mm.
it's so quiet, but it's like that's the point. T-Rex was a very sneaky dinosaur.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that we know now that we didn't know and for a lot of, well, until very, very recently, is that it had padded feet, sort of like what a cat has. Which means even if it had to run, it probably didn't have to run very far. But
Yeah,
considering its size and
or if it did, you
yeah,
probably couldn't hear it.
yeah, and considering its size, if it could be very stealthy, there's a good chance it didn't really care if what it was eating was dead or alive. Like it would just go, "Ooh, a snack," and then just steal food from something else.
Probably.
Mm. You have to admit that with the Jurassic Park slash Jurassic World franchise, we're going to be seeing a lot more of that, just because, one, they're now doing more than just dinosaurs, and two, they have a lot of options. Like, when it comes to prehistoric life, there's a lot of
Hmm.
things they could bring back that would just be scary.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, there are some things that predate the dinosaurs are just the nightmare fuel for any movie.
Hmm.
Like, for example, the Gorgonopsid, which, looking at fossil evidence, was most likely an ancestor to what eventually became cats and dogs. But because it's a predecessor creature, it existed during a time when most of the world was just a desert with almost no vegetation and not much of anything around on land because it was just dry desert.
Hmm.
But then
I
you have
know
that
that.
thing that's like a cheetah.
Uh,
Yeah,
I know that. One of
yeah,
I that's a creature that's extinct. I was wanting to see is the prehistoric bear.
yeah,
That's one of the things I really want to see.
yeah,
Cause I was
yeah,
when I was in Savannah, me and my friends snuck into a Marriott hotel just to like see what's the word to see because they had like a prehistoric exhibit going on as their whole theme. And so me and my friends were like, "Oh, that's cool. Why don't we just, look at it?" So we did, and near the back was this skeleton of a prehistoric bear that I decided to call Jerry. Because why not? And I found it genuinely so interesting because I looked at it and I'm like, damn, that thing is huge.
yeah,
That's also why I like
yeah,
games like Ark, because Ark is pretty accurate with their designs as well. And not
yeah,
just that, they show you these prehistoric animals. Like you can literally find what is essentially what probably inspired the Bigfoot conspiracy. The
yeah.
the giant monkey for
And in
that,
fact, something is like there's something that I personally didn't know about until very recently called the Gigantus Epithecus.
that's
And it's
the
like that
yeah,
thing
that's the
is
one.
essentially just Bigfoot but bigger.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. I always saw it as like, so this is what inspired Bigfoot. It's this
Yeah.
guy
But
because it
then you look
wasn't
at the
just
scaling,
big.
and it's like a much bigger than anything that's been described for Bigfoot. So it's like maybe it's like an ancestor of Bigfoot.
Yeah, it could
Yeah,
probably. That's probably. I always say that's
yeah,
probably what people believe is Bigfoot. Like that's where the whole Bigfoot thing came from.
yeah.
It just saw a
Or the
grainy.
Yati
They
from the
just.
Himalayas.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was inspired by like people grabbing probably images of the monkey and
Yeah,
saying it's Bigfoot, saying it's the Yeti, and it's like not really.
yeah.
But
Well,
that is
considering what
definitely
we do know about the bones for the Gigantus epithecus, we do know that did live in icy climates.
yeah,
So if it were to still be around, it could be somewhere where there's virtually no people.
that's true. That is
Yeah,
the die with the dinosaurs.
yeah,
It's not working. Come here.
yep,
There we go. That works.
yeah,
Oh great, now where do I
yeah,
put you? There.
yeah. I remember seeing a article recently on Google that went into a research station that was researching bacteria and other things that are found in the ice.
Mm.
And something that they found turned out to not be dead.
Oh yeah. I've
And
seen articles like that
yeah,
they find like frozen
yeah,
bacteria and they want
yeah.
to
It's like
like study it and stuff.
yeah. It's like it's not often that they find something that can survive being frozen in ice. But the only reason why I find that very concerning is it implies that there's a possibility that even more deadly things could survive in the ice and because it's been away for so long, it could basically become an epidemic in modern day.
Oh yes.
Like, I don't remember what the name
That's
of the
why I
game
say like
is.
I get science and I get why they do the stuff they do, but sometimes I'm like maybe you should just leave it alone. Like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, we found this, but we're not gonna touch it because we do
yeah.
not want to take that risk.
Actually, there's a game that can be used as an example of that. Dying Light 2.
Hmm.
Because it's like the first Dying Light game, the disease was not created in the lab because there is evidence in game to suggest that an asteroid hit the ground, and then the asteroid, as a result, mutated rabies, and then that's what became the virus that destroyed
You know, that's
Haran.
something I always like
But it's like a side quest that
always
gets to
sounds
that.
so funny. A lot of zombie viruses, not all, but a lot of zombie viruses like in movies are just a very intense rabies virus.
Yeah,
Like I feel like The Walking Dead is like I would say the exception because that's not really rabies.
yeah, that's something
That's
else.
that's just actually undead. But a lot of like other movies, like
Yeah,
especially like a lot of older movies, like you look at how they act and it's like that's just
yeah.
rabies.
Have
It's
you
just
seen Return of
what?
the Living Dead? Or no?
Oh, I haven't seen it myself, but I did watch like a kill count that essentially just
Yeah.
summarized the whole movie. So yes,
Well,
essentially yes.
it's another exception where it's not rabies, but it is a virus, and like all viruses, if it's able to do things that most viruses can't, that's a immediately a reason to be concerned because if it can do things such as, like, for example, with that virus, which causes flesh to somehow come back to life, imagine what other kinds of viruses could be out there that could have weird effects on the body.
That's true.
Mm,
I mean, I know that to the 28 Days Later series is one of the closest things we have to a virus that I guess could be a thing because that thing
mm,
is just you're not a zombie essentially. You're still human. You're just very angry. You're
yeah.
still human in a way. You're just extremely angry.
And as for zombies and media, something I don't see too often is parasites being the result of zombies.
I have seen
Like,
a few
like
movies
there
where
are
it
a
was a
few
parasite,
games,
and I was like,
there are a few
ooh.
movies, but not too many because
I
most
mean,
don't
yeah, it's just
explore
that it's
that
a bit more
route.
difficult. It's
Yeah.
a bit more difficult when it comes to like viruses,
Yeah. Like with
especially because
viruses,
sometimes you
viruses are kind of easier to hide because a parasite is
same.
going to be much bigger and
No,
much more
yeah, especially
noticeable.
because like I'm pretty sure movie wise, like how,
Yeah.
explaining a parasite, you know, you have to explain it. You have more to explain
Yeah.
in a way. It's like, oh, it's a parasite. A parasite. What do you mean a parasite?
Yeah.
You know.
But then again, with new research that we do have, parasites in general, like even forms of viruses, have gotten very weird as of late, considering some of the new stuff that we've found that just defies previous understanding of what qualifies as a parasite or what qualifies as life. Like, I'll use an example. The gyrus is a form of virus that's so large that it behaves more like a bacteria until it has to reproduce.
Hmm. Another
Rather
one of the
than,
games that actually dives into parasite-like zombies is Resident Evil. It's
yeah,
like one of the big ones that actually use virus. Yes,
yeah,
but also parasites.
yeah,
Mostly parasites more than
yeah.
virus.
It also
They
uses a
call them viruses
fungus, if I
because
remember correctly. Like it's supposed to be
they
like a
used to
cocktail of different things.
they used the fungus at one point, but if we're talking, but like not often. They
Yeah,
use their go-to is always gonna be
yeah.
like
I know they use the
virus
virus
and
just because the virus
parasites.
spreads faster, but they do
Yeah, but they
use
also use
something from the
parasites.
fungus.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I know they did. It's just they don't use it often. They always go with
Yeah.
parasites and or viruses.
A parasite, a virus, a little bit of a
Fungus.
fungus, and
The
if
fungus
they get
was
the right
Resident Evil
blend.
7 and 8. Fungus was
Yeah.
Resident Evil 7 and 8. Then they really dive
Yeah.
into fungus, the mold. Like, then they really, essentially, it was more of a fungus. But like Resident Evil 2,
Yeah.
that was a virus. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, not really. The one that the doctor infected himself in, that was a parasite. That was very obviously a parasite.
Yeah.
But the thing that infected everybody else, that was a virus.
Yeah.
Uroboros, the Uroboros thing that Wesker infected himself in, that's a parasite. Wesker himself technically could be a parasite. What Resident Evil 4, what Leon was infected with, and all the stuff was infected with, that's a parasite.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a game I remember seeing some gameplay for. I did not remember what it's called. But it does go into the idea of there being like a super parasitic worm that's been on Earth for a long time, but it's just frozen in ice. But then when it merges and just it just wreaks havoc on the world and just spreads like a cancer, but also does other things such as mutating the hosts.
Hmm.
I do not remember what it's called. I just know that some of the zombies in it get kind of ridiculous.
Hmm.
But
The most zombie movies I've seen I like zombie movies a lot, mostly because I find the
yeah,
concept so interesting, and I like seeing how people can make it very unique sometimes. Like, especially
yeah,
like filmmakers in Korea. Oh, every time they make a zombie movie, I know it's gonna be good.
yeah,
Those guys are very. I love their storytelling when it comes to zombie movies, because
yeah,
one of the most unique I've seen that I love is they made a movie called, I think, hashtag Alive, and it was about a kid who was in the apocalypse in his room, and he tried to use his technology and social media to be found. Like, he posted his address and everything and there, but as he was waiting, obviously the zombies were outside trying to get in. The one thing I remember they did, I was like,
yeah,
ooh, now this is good, was the zombies could remember their instincts when they of their jobs. Like, example, a firefighter zombie remembered how to climb rope. So when there was a rope, because spoiler spoiler
yeah,
warning, T found another survivor and they were trying to get to the from her apartment to his, and they were trying to use a zip line. But the first one, it fell. And when it fell, um the the firefighter zombie saw it and then just started climbing up because it remembered
yeah,
how to do that. And I was very impressed. I was like, oh, this is new. This is very unique.
yeah,
This is something they're not just zombies that can run and are aggressive. No, they can climb. They remember how to do what they used to do when they're alive. And I love that type of stuff. Like zombie, like that type of stuff where it's or like Train to Busan. That's one of my favorite movies. Like zombie movies to be exact.
yeah.
That was the first time. That was one of the first ones I've ever seen, and I was like, now this is
Yeah.
awesome.
Like, I have to admit that when it comes to zombie movies, I've noticed that some of them are really, really good with execution. And then there are
Which ones?
some that just take a really stupid execution.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and I've noticed that too. And
like the
and
worst
I'll be
example
fair,
I have is World War Z.
I haven't seen
Mm,
it. I have
yeah.
I have heard some stuff about it, but not
Well,
enough to
I'm not
like.
going to spoil anything from it besides the fact that the zombies only went after people who are healthy. So if you were to get sick or do something that makes you feel ill, zombies would automatically not want to be near you and they just go elsewhere. And that's
Hmm.
basically how they solved the apocalypse is they just had to get sick so the zombies wouldn't want them.
Huh.
Yeah. Like those that's basically part of the ending for it and I found it really dumb.
I will need to see it, but
Mm-hmm.
so far from what you're telling me, that does sound like a interesting. I'm gonna say interesting choice. Like it's an interesting choice, but I don't understand
It it makes
because
absolutely no
it's a double.
sense.
Yeah, because it's a double-edged sword. Because it's like, oh, the zombies aren't killing us, but now we're sick, and we have to constantly be sick.
But then the thing
That's
with
like
doing that is you have to balance being sick without dying.
exactly like you would die
Mm-hmm.
quicker, and not just that, your body. What if your body becomes immune to the sickness? What you gonna do then?
Exactly.
Like, what are you gonna do then? The most you'd be able to do is probably like poison yourself.
Yeah, and with
Poison
poisoning
yourself.
yourself, that's not a good road.
No, yeah, it's
Like
not good because
like
that
even if you're
again
doing
you
it to
could.
survive short term, long term that's just not going to help you at all, or help anyone for
Yeah,
that matter.
yeah.
So in
So
the
it's like
end, if that
it's a
were to be applied to real
choice.
life, they'd literally
Like
just be ending themselves regardless.
something that I always say to my friends when I see like movies or comics do a choice that is like I don't know how to describe it. I'm like, it's a choice. It's a
Mm-hmm.
choice. Is it the correct one? That's a question, not for me. But it's like, yeah, like I said, it's a choice if that's really what they decide. I know that 28 years later is a movie that I remember seeing clips of it and being like, hell no, I'm not watching this. This is stupid. And then I saw a spoiler review that which explained the whole thing, and I'm like, nah, I saved myself. No way I'm watching this movie because
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
it's a choice. Again, they made
Yeah.
choices. They made choices in that movie.
Yeah.
The only and obviously that's where the meme came from of a zombie with giant a giant
Yeah.
which I was again it made me realize that I do not know who the hell in the department thought that would be a great idea, because if so I would fire them personally. I would be
Yeah.
like, no, what is this?
Yeah. The only thing that to say that's even weirder than just zombies in general, especially like undead zombies, is when the zombie, like just being able to survive the zombie apocalypse, is even weirder. Especially with a lot of the science that we know now. Like for example, there are other fungi that are like cordyceps, which for people who don't know what cordyceps is the fungus that's in Last of Us, or essentially the inspiration for that fungus in Last of Us. But then
Yeah,
there's other fungi that can do similar things to cordyceps, so it's not exclusively to cordyceps. But what they
yeah,
all
because
have in
that's
common is that
true.
seeks out an area with a denser population in order to spread. And if we were to apply that to the fungus from 28 days later, odds are it would only be cities that would be affected, but the countryside would not be so affected because,
Yeah,
well, those
essentially.
zombies would go to places with larger populations, and cities
I
have
think
larger
28 years
populations.
later, I think 28
But
years later, from what I heard, takes place in the countryside.
wait a
But
minute,
for some reason, they're
I might have the wrong title. If I have the wrong
20,
title,
no,
Last of
28 days
Us.
later is a completely, oh yeah, Last of Us.
I don't know why I
No,
thought
no,
of 28 Days Later instead of Last of Us.
I don't know. Probably
But
because there's just so much
yeah,
mention of that movie, which
yeah,
I like the original.
yeah,
That whole concept that 28 days later, 28 years later has the rage virus. I like the
yeah,
original. I really like it. I'm like, ooh, this is this is cool because again, it's not they're not it's a zombie movie, yes, but the thing is
Yeah.
the zombies are essentially just humans who are enraged. And I always found that interesting. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
they're not even undead. They're like just extremely
Yeah.
angry.
Well, when we look at the history of zombies going into mythology or things that inspired mythology, the number one virus that comes to mind is rabies, which has been around long enough it's actually written into mythology of the world, often being connected to a goddess of berserker rage. And considering what rabies does, if you don't die from it, because one of the things that's there that rabies does do when it's inside a host is it will basically reprogram the host's brain. Sometimes in the process, it ends up killing the hosts. But in the
Mm-hmm.
instance where the host doesn't die, the host ends up behaving in ways in which they wouldn't normally. And by the time you see foaming at the lips, it's usually too late. But considering how the ancient world, they would have interpreted that not as a disease, but as the actions of a very angry god or a very angry goddess.
Yeah, or maybe the work of the devil,
Yeah, and
depending on which religion.
yeah. But what they all have in common is that's associated with berserker behavior, because they know it's not normal behavior for people to behave like that. And people who were infected, if they lived long enough to spread the infection, it was more than likely that that infection would not only spread, it would be like a scourge upon the earth. And then using research that we have now through the study of bones and fossils, going back to dinosaurs for a second, we now know that when animals die from certain diseases, like viruses for example, it does to an extent show up in the teeth because, well, one guess is maybe you clench your teeth more when you die from a virus. Maybe, I don't know if that's the case or if there's something else going on there. And
Hmm.
then, not long after, we discovered evidence of dinosaurs with similar jaw damage, which raises the possibility of dinosaurs with rabies.
Could be. A lot of times, the diseases we know nowadays
Yeah,
are diseases that have always been around. It's just they've
yeah,
evolved, you know.
yeah. And if you've ever seen the show Primal,
Oh, Primal, I've heard of it.
there's an episode that essentially has to do with a dinosaur getting rabies. And that thing is virtually an unstoppable tyrant. Like just one of it going on a rampage. And it's like the lava pits didn't seem to really stop it. And some spoilers, a brontosaur is what's infected with rabies.
Mm.
So it's something really big, and on top of that's now been made into the most aggressive thing imaginable. But then again, considering what we do know about viruses, over millions of years, viruses have changed who knows how much. So who knows, maybe an ancient version of rabies is vastly different than what we see now. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I do have to admit, it is kind of ridiculous the thought of dinosaurs with rabies or things, just in general, anything prehistoric getting rabies.
No.
Yeah. Then again, outside of rabies, there are some other options I have seen for zombies in media, but not too many. Like, we do have technology that technically turns people into zombies.
And nanoviruses.
Nanoviruses. There's also cyborg augmentation, which I've actually seen in a few games where they take a body and augment it until it's no longer dead.
Yeah, I've seen it too.
Yeah. I haven't seen that in too
I
many
know that
games.
Marvel Rivals had an entire season, like just recently, about some characters being infected with the Ultron virus.
Oh.
Yeah, like Magneto got infected, Iron Fist, Hawkeye. They all got infected with the
Mm.
Ultron virus. Even Ultron himself.
Got
Even
infected
Ultron
with it.
himself, even Ultron himself, he essentially upgraded himself with, I believe it was his own virus, and turned into Ultron X.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love that season.
Yeah. I have to admit,
Essentially, the
I haven't played too much Marvel Rivals.
I enjoyed it a lot more than
Yeah.
Overwatch, but that's not really a high bar. That's not really a high bar.
Well, everything else has been more enjoyable than Overwatch from what I've
I mean,
seen.
uh, the Overwatch 2 has
Yeah.
gone down the drain. I only have it
Yeah.
because I have one friend that still really enjoys it, and
Yeah.
that's the only reason. If I could delete that game, I would delete it instantly.
Yeah.
Like, God, that game makes me mad.
Yeah. I remember sometime back when Overwatch 2 was available for free, but you had to be able to register certain things. And I did everything that was required to be able to register to play it. Turns out my phone number wasn't valid.
I think I
And
know how
I've
that worked.
been.
It wasn't registering to play it. It was registering so that you could have your stuff from Overwatch 1.
But ironically, I never played Overwatch 1.
Yeah, they
But.
always ask that for every person that gets it, just in case. If you don't have stuff, then you won't. I think that's what it meant by validity. It's like, oh, yeah, you don't. It's not valid because you don't have anything.
I know they did have a security measure where it's like, oh, if you have an account, this is
Yeah,
a way to make it so that, oh, you can't
the
hack it, because
entitlement.
if you hack it, you will have your account permanently banned and you can't use this or that to be able to log in. Like, you have to completely redo everything to be able to get back in and do things. Which I
Yeah,
understand not wanting
that happened.
hackers, but then they put bars that made it so that a lot of new players couldn't simply play.
Yeah, they fixed that quickly, but I don't know. It's just that recently Overwatch 2 has gone downhill, and
Yeah.
I have a theory that I've told everybody. I wouldn't be surprised if they're preparing to just shut down the game at this point because no one wants to play it.
And it's like, with
But
everything I've heard about it since it came out, I've been simply deterred. Like, after being
don't
unable to
bother,
play it,
dude.
then hearing bad things about it one day after another. It's like, yeah,
It's
I
not
lost all
worth
interest.
it. It's free, sure, but it really isn't worth it. Like, I had Overwatch 1 and I liked it a lot. It was one of my go-to games. But after they switched, I was like, bro, I'm not playing this on it. But then I remember when they announced Overwatch 2, I was like, I'm not downloading it. The only reason I did was because my friends begged me to, being like, please, you know about Overwatch, we don't, you can teach us. And I'm like, I
Yeah,
sure, but then afterwards, I just started getting bored. I was like, it's the
yeah,
same stuff. The game is unbalanced. The game is unbalanced. The heroes, they made them worse. Some of them they made others
yeah,
physically unplayable. And then not just that, but then the stuff that they promised for Overwatch 2
yeah.
gets canceled. Like the reason they made Overwatch 2 was for a story mode, a skill tree, and
And
they
then that
canceled it.
never happened
Yeah,
because they
they
canceled
canceled
it.
it because they said, "Oh, we realized that we were too ambitious," something like that. That they realized that they just couldn't deliver it because they just didn't have the means to. After they released the first set of missions for the story mode that you had to pay extra money for.
Yeah, it's like you had to pay separately just to be able to have access to the story. and
Yeah,
then
and I was like,
they
bro, I'm
took it
not
out.
doing that. I wanted to play it because I wanted to give it a chance because I love story mode. I
Yeah,
love story games. But then when they told me, oh, you have to pay for it, I was like, no. I made a vow essentially to myself, and I tell it to all my friends. I am never spending money on that game. I spent $20 for the original. I am not spending money on the game,
yeah,
and I haven't. If I've gotten battle passes or anything, it's because I have the currency, the in-game currency saved up. That's the only reason I've been able to buy some of the stuff that the game has wanted me to buy, like a battle pass. I just have the in-game currency saved up, and I'm like, sure, I like this battle pass, so I'll get it. Which I paid the battle pass system because it ruined Overwatch. And again, their
yeah.
excuse being that that oh the current the what the hell did they say? Oh yeah, loot boxes were not making us money. I call, oh, pardon my French, bullshit. I call
Yeah, I
that,
agree
yes,
with that
it's
because
not
loot
true.
boxes actually
The
do make a lot of money. Like,
Yes, and not just that, these guys, I've heard stories of people spending thousands on these loot boxes. What do you mean you didn't get money? That is physically impossible.
yeah,
That is physically impossible. And then, not just that, then they literally recently brought them back, and I'm like, were you not making money apparently while you brought them back, huh? Is it because nobody's spending money on the shop anymore? Are you that desperate?
I'm gonna have to say yes.
Yes, it's obviously, yes, they're desperate because
Yeah,
another thing they did is they took out the story mode, said that's never coming back, skill tree's never coming back, blah 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 blah. They do all of that, and I'm just like, well, screw you. First of all, you literally
yeah,
promised something to fans and then refute, and then when you couldn't deliver it, you put your hands up and say, "Not my fault," and it's like it's your fault, but okay. Number one,
yeah.
number two, the new changes they made to the heroes. Would you believe me if I said they're literally like removing them, quote unquote, in a way? Because now you can get quote unquote perks in the matches, and those perks bring back old skills from the characters that they removed. And I'm like, dude, you're
All the
basically
extra
just bringing
work.
back for nothing. You're literally all that extra work when at this point you're just bringing back Overwatch 1 again. If that's the case, shut down Overwatch 2 and just bring back Overwatch 1. Cuz you're basically removing the new stuff, bringing back old stuff just to get fans to come back, which fun fact they're not because they hate this game.
That reminds me of what happened with Battle for Neverville when that came out, which is a PvZ game that did not do well. Like, they made all sorts of promises when they had the beta and they released the beta. But then you look at the final version of the game that they ended up releasing for everyone, and it plays exactly like the beta. There's no character variants, which made the gameplay get stale very fast. For customize, like the most that you can do in Battle for Neverville, in case you don't know, is you can just customize your characters and that's it. Like you can slightly change how a character plays, but in the end you don't really change squat. Like it still plays the exact same regardless of what you do.
No, yeah, and the thing with me is
Mm,
that I got because not only that, old game modes that everyone loved, they take them out, replace them with game modes no one wants, and then and then they bring back those exact game modes with different names, and I'm like, dude, like they brought back a game mode which is essentially just assault, and I'm like, just bring back assault.
yeah, it's like,
Why are you
why are you
changing the
doing the extra
name?
stuff? Like for example,
Yeah, why are
if
you doing this extra step? Just bring back assault. No, everyone liked it. Last time I checked, and not just that. You know how they made the game 5v5, which everyone hated because it meant that supports were not getting the defense they needed to be able to do their job right. And then they bring back a 6v6. And I'm like, oh my god, why? You were so like dead set on 5v5, and then the moment that people, and then you bring back 66. Just bring
mm,
back they bring back a classic mode for a limited time, and everybody loves the classic mode, and I'm like, bro, the
mm.
fact that you have to bring back Overwatch 1 to get people to play
Mm.
Overwatch 2 should tell you what you need to know. No one wants Overwatch 2, they want Overwatch 1 back.
Yeah, that's also the situation with Battle for Neighborville. Like, after a few months of people just leaving the game, they started bringing back more stuff that was supposed to be in relation to Garden Warfare 1 and Garden Warfare 2, but at that point, they had already lost a lot of the player base because most of the player base had high expectations for the game because they were given promises, but then promises were not only like they didn't only not keep the promises, they also changed the entire way in which the game is supposed to be played to the extent that the gameplay just gets stale, like it's just sterilized. Like every match plays almost the exact same regardless of what character you play as. It's like if you
Yeah.
take away what makes a game fun, what allows you to make gameplay more interesting, people do lose interest and they lose interest very fast.
Yeah. And
And
not just that, it's like if you make a promise that I'm gonna bring this, it's like you need to follow up with it, because if you don't follow up with it, especially if it's the whole reason you made the game in the first place.
yeah, like
What?
using the PvZ shooter franchise like Garden Warfare 1 and Garden Warfare 2, they had an idea of how to do things, but with Garden Warfare 1, the only downside is in the present day, there's so few people playing it because, one, it's an older game from 2013, and two, a lot of people have systems that are so new they can't run it. Like, for example, for PC, you cannot run Garden Warfare 1 anymore because it's considered to be too old of a game for newer systems, so a lot of people are not unable to run it. So if you have an older system to play it, the next issue comes up, which is the player base for it has dropped so much that a lot of modes are unavailable. Like, for example, with Garden Warfare 2 now, most of it is literally just you going into private matches or solo matches because there's simply not enough people there to get an official match.
Oh yeah, for me it's like I try to give Overwatch a chance because it does have a special place in my heart. It's one of the first online games I've ever played. It's how I met
Mm,
you. Like, it's how I met Jake. Like,
mm,
it's how I met people I now care about. It has a special
mm,
place in my heart.
mm,
But it's like there I look at it and I'm like, I see what Overwatch
mm,
2 became and I'm like, dude, I
mm,
do not like this. I don't like this
mm.
game. This game is not good. And I've
Like,
been telling all my friends these changes are not good. They're not. They're bad. This is literally stupid. Like, this is stupid. They're bringing this back for what reason? Because they are desperate. Heck, I even said every
mm,
nowadays when you finish a match, you get a little animation of your hero doing its highlight intro, and then it shows you the time you've played the hero and then your progression levels. That animation is becoming very choppy. Like, to me, that thing is so choppy. I'm like, and to me, that's concerning because I have an internet that I barely lag, so I know if it becomes choppy, that's probably not my internet. That's most likely the game itself. And because of that, I started saying this is giving that they're not doing as much maintenance as they used to, which means I remember saying the theory to my friends. I think they're about to shut this game down. Like, I genuinely believe they're going to shut it down. That they're done.
mm,
That they've given up, because not just that, the stuff in the store has gotten so expensive too. Like,
yeah.
super expensive, and not just The event is barely trying. They made a GI Joe event, and that was the worst event I've ever seen. Because you
Mm,
know how, let's say Marvel Rivals, for example. Every
yeah,
time they make an event, they offer one free skin, right?
yeah,
And Overwatch used to do that. And even in Overwatch 1, you would do this set of challenges, here's a free skin. That's pretty fair,
yeah,
right? That's a pretty cool thing. Like, oh, I get a free skin. Even Fortnite does it. It's like, oh, I get a free skin if I do this. That's awesome.
yeah.
Tell me why the G.I. Joe event, which would have been a perfect opportunity to
They
get a free skin, they
and
didn't.
then they didn't do that.
Oh no, you want to know what they offered? This actually made
What?
me so mad that I stopped playing for like a week. They offered like six voice lines for four of them for one character, and then like four sprays and then some XP. That's all we got. I saw that and I'm like, what is this? Genuinely. What am I looking at? What is this event? This is trash. I got so upset. Me and my friend looked at
Mm,
it. We are very big G.I. Joe fans. And when we saw this event, we were like, this is actually
mm.
garbage.
Oh,
So we stopped.
speaking
We
of
literally stopped.
G.I. Joe, have you seen Transformers: Rise of the Beasts or no?
I have.
The ending for it
Yep.
hints a crossover between G.I. Joe and Transformers, which interesting
Yep.
thing is canonically Generation 1 Transformers and Generation 1 G.I. Joe were in the same universe, but not necessarily at the same place for things. So for the
Yeah,
live
but I do
actions,
know. I
it
do
would
know
not
one
be
thing.
surprising if they plan to make a G.I. Joe film soon.
But I do know one thing about
Yeah.
G.I. Joe and Transformers. They have had crossovers in the comics before, according to a
Not
friend
just
of mine
comics, they've
that's.
also had some crossovers for the episodes, but you don't really know it's a crossover because they don't say it's a crossover. That's
I
one of the
mean,
things that's
yeah.
there with older media is you'll notice that when they do crossovers, they do not announce it's a crossover.
No, and I honestly, I kind
Yeah,
of like that. It's like, because it's kind of like, it feels a bit
yeah,
more natural,
yeah.
at least to me.
I have to agree. It does feel more natural because if you have two different shows and they have a crossover, but they openly announce it's a crossover, it does not feel like it's a surprise or that's as special.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. But at the
Sometimes,
same sometimes it does. But at the same time, other times when they announce it, I feel like they try to make it seem like such a big thing. Like, oh my god, these actors are in the same room together. Which there are times where,
yeah,
when I was a kid, that would work on me. Like every time they would announce a crossover on like Disney Channel with like Good Luck Charlie and Jesse, for example, I would get so excited because those were my two favorite shows. And I wouldn't care it was announced, but I do remember. I feel like if they never announced it, ooh, I would have been in shock. I would have been like screaming. I would have been genuinely losing my mind if when I was a kid, because those were my two favorite shows. And then when they did one with Jesse and Austin and Nolly, like I said, if they didn't announce that shit, ooh,
yeah,
that would have been like screaming my head off, like, oh my god, no way.
yeah. And then for crossovers, another thing I've also seen for media is there's a good way to do a crossover where you actually have characters be who they are normally and they don't have to conform or do anything weird.
Those are the crossovers I
And then
love.
there's the crossovers where they change how a character behaves just because they're in
We
a
don't
different
talk about
show.
those. We don't talk about those. What? Those don't
Yeah,
exist. What are you talking about, man? Those don't exist. Like, I feel like old Disney, like old Disney Channel, they did perfect crossovers because these
yeah,
characters, like, yeah, this is
yeah,
who they were.
yeah,
This is exactly who they are. It's like, oh yeah, all right. It's also funny because at least those crossovers, the shows have so different vibes sometimes that when you put them together, you're
yeah.
like, oh,
Uh,
this kind of interesting to see how they work.
I just had
What about you?
something on the tip of my tongue and I just forgot part of it. But I do know that there is a show in the 90s where they did a crossover. And it was revealed, it's like, oh, this is like a kid's show. But then it was revealed it takes place in the same universe as Mortal Kombat. But I do not remember what the show was, but it's like a show that's normally for kids. But then
Hmm.
out of the blue, they have a character from Mortal Kombat come in, do a few things, and then he leaves, and it's like that's his entire cameo as he just did a few
Okay,
things
that's
and then
funny
he's
though.
gone.
That's funny though. That's funny. I
Like,
would watch that 100%.
you know, like even if it's
What?
small, just the fact that certain crossovers do happen does make them feel special.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of instances where a crossover can make something worse. Which one example they do have is from a show called Bones and
Oh,
another
my
show called
mom.
Sleepy Hollow.
Oh yeah, my mom loves Bones.
Yeah, I have to admit I
But
did enjoy the show Bones, but after a while, you can tell they ran out of creativity because the writing just got really, really weird.
that always happens. If a show goes on for too long, it'll eventually reach the part where it's like, what do we do now? It's like,
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, that's how you know you need to start ending it. If I always say, if I'm gonna make, if I want to make an animated show, right? If by the time I'm like season whatever of my animated show and I realize I don't know what else to do, I am ending it instantly. The
yeah,
moment I get that moment, it's like, yeah, I'm done. We're done here.
yeah,
Like I have no more ideas. I'm not gonna keep milking it. The show's over.
yeah.
Like I have to end it.
Like something I will say that's there they do understand is if you don't want to end a show, but you're out of ideas, you also have the option to go on hiatus, and
That's
then when
true.
you return back to that show, you can say that a certain amount of time has passed, and you
Yeah.
can work with it.
Yeah, you could like I always say I feel like shows should take their time. Not like
Yeah,
Stranger Things, which took, in my opinion, that's an ungodly amount of time.
yeah, and well, part
Five
of what's there with
years?
Stranger Things between season 3 and season 4 is quarantine really threw off the production schedule. I
Yes,
think
but I mean
quarantine
like
did throw off a
after
lot of
quarantine.
schedules.
But I mean
Yeah,
after quarantine. Like
yeah,
after that, I'm like,
yeah.
okay, for
After
a
that,
show
there's
like
then
this,
season
what?
4, where they decided to make each episode an hour long, which I have to admit annoyed the crap out of me. Give me a second, I have
I
to
get,
make another video
yeah.
because this is almost at an hour. Three, two,